Hello, everyone. Welcome to this edition of the podcast. Today we have a special guest with us, all the way from Chile. Carla will share with us her experience traveling in Peru and her engagement in spiritual tourism. But first of all, I wanted to give you big thanks to Luis Coleman and Lucas Jatkiewicz for being the legends that created the amazing musical intro. Just a little bit of information on these guys. Luis is the guitarist and vocalist of the band Cactus Channel. You can listen to their instrumental masterpieces on your Spotify, and you can look them up in YouTube as well. And Lucas, he's an artist and composer from Melbourne, and he's also an illustrator and watercolor painter. He's the author of The Composer comic. You can check his work on his Instagram at Lucas Jatkiewicz. And just in case you missed that name, no worries, we'll have all the information you have to check their work on our website. So before we start with Carla, I just wanted to give you a little bit of information on spiritual tourism. So basically the UNWTO, that's the United Nations World Tourism Organization, defines spiritual tourism as all the travel outside of the usual environment for religious purposes, excluding traveling for professional purposes. But it includes going to countries where the ceremonies have a strong religious connotation. Another academic, Mintel, argues that international travel for purposes of visiting sites and routes and festivals of religious significance, as well as travel where the primary purpose of the visit is to participate in activities that have religious significance. It could be maybe conferences, conventions, retreats, or something like that. It could be also spiritual tourism. So there you go. We're gonna bring Carla and start this interview with her. Very happy to have you, Carla. Thank you so much for joining us in this podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. It's such an interesting topic.
So, Carla, just before we introduce the topic, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you?
Well, I used to work with Anna. I met Anna at Contours Travel. We worked together in tourism that focused only in Latin America because I was living in Australia as well. I am a lawyer. I'm an environmental lawyer, but now I'm working as a tour leader in Latin America as well. So since it's our home, we might as well know it and, discuss it and show the world how amazing Latin America is. So that's me at the moment.
All right. Thank you for that introduction, Carla. So I invited Carla to join this podcast because we were talking about, as she said already, we're very good friends. We used to work together as well. So I invited her because she recently went to this amazing trip around South America, and she experienced different, I would say, spiritual journeys. How, would you say that as well?
Yes, I mean, it started very randomly, but it ended up a 2-whole-month trip around Peru. That was definitely a spiritual experience, or discovering how spiritual tourism actually works. So
okay, yeah, because I remember you told me you went to a Vipassana. So for those who do not know what a Vipassana is, it's basically like a 10 days retreat, and you're vowed to stay in silence, right, and meditate. Can you tell us a little bit more about what is it?
So the Vipassana is a massive worldwide organization. So the Vipassana retreat is all over the world. So when you are an inexperienced person in meditation, you're more than welcome to participate. That's the thing. So it's all over the world. You subscribe to this amazing retreat all over the world, wherever you want. And it's a meditation course that it's the first one, it's only 10 days, but then you can do a 20 days or a 30 days or even 60 days. It's massive. And the beautiful thing first about the organization is that everything's 100% free. So you get accommodation for free, a teacher that is teaching you every day from 4 a.m. till 9 p.m. classes about meditation, and then you also get free food, So all of these is based in donations, and that's the beautiful part for me. So if I donate in my course, that will mean that your course will be already paid for.
Oh, okay.
So,
So
it works like that.
So people actually
Based in
pay for,
donation.
like, not pay for it, but actually donate to the cause, and just like, it continues to be sustainable in that way.
Yes, exactly. So it depends on how much, obviously, you donate. But the beautiful thing is that they don't pressure you on how much you're supposed to donate,
Oh,
it's like
right.
you make the donation based in how your experience was. So, and I assure you that after those 10 days, you feel marvelous, and, and it's totally worth it. Whatever you want to feel like giving away, it's fine. It's okay. Like,
So you pay, like, you donate afterwards, right?
Yeah. After the 10-day course.
Okay.
So, and about the structure of the course, it lasts 10 days. You're in silence. It's called noble silence. You're in noble silence for 10 days. But that's actually not the hard part, Anna.
Is it? I don't know if I would make it. How was that?
It's actually, everyone's like, oh my God, you're in silence for 10 days. And actually, that's not the worst part, like that's not hard at all, because you're immersed in yourself.
So it's actually a noble.
For me, the hard part. What? Sorry?
It's actually like a noble experience that you go through being in silence.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you give away all this silence, but you gain so much out of it. Like, it's you start your day at 4:30 a.m. in the morning. Well, you go meditate, and then you have a teacher there. You can speak to the teacher as well if you're having, like, if you don't know if you're making the right thing with this technique, if you're not learning it, as fast, or if you're getting frustrated, you can talk to the teacher as well. So it's not actually that you're 10 days in silence.
Oh, okay.
So
you can talk to the
part
teacher.
for me,
You can talk to the teacher. It's just staying more introvert and.
Yes, like you can approach the teacher every time you feel like you're not actually learning the technique, for instance, or if you have a problem, or like there's staff worrying about you all the time, taking care of you. The teacher's taking care of you as well.
Yeah.
Is that obviously 10 days in silence means that sometimes you get frustrated, like your mind, because
Of
you
course.
understand actually that your mind wanders so fast. You go to the past, you go to the present, you go, like you start dreaming in meditation until that then you are aware that you are not actually meditating, So
Yeah.
coming back, taking back your mind again and center, that's the hard part, like
Wow.
we're not used to it. We're too fast. Our mind is too fast. We're constantly worrying about what do we have to do next? What are we doing today? I have to take the dog. I have to eat. I have to, So all of those things stop when you're in 10 days in silence, in meditating.
So, for example, what was the thing that you found to be the best thing about the Vipassana?
I think for me, I had a beautiful experience. Like, I want to make sure that everyone understands that obviously everyone has a different experience.
Yeah.
It could be good, it could be bad, it could be, like positive, negative, all at the same time. It's very overwhelming. But for me, the most wonderful thing was to realize that I can be in control of my own mind, that I can center myself, that I can have self-awareness and realization moments where, this is what it is. This is how am I supposed to do things.
That's massive.
And for me, the result of the Vipassana gave me a lot of tolerance. Like, things do not upset you as much anymore because you're more in control of your own emotions, of your own thoughts, of your own, you're more aware, I think. That's for me the beautiful message that Vipassana gave me. It's just wonderful.
Did you find any like negative parts to the Vipassana or not so much?
No, I think like in terms of like again, like I can only talk about my experience during the process, but in terms of structure, because you have beautiful days and then you have negative days, like you're constantly during these 10 days working on yourself. So it's very, conscious moments.
Yeah.
But that was amazing. But I think that in terms of structure, sometimes people do not, or this was my experience, do not take this 100% seriously. So when that happens, there's people competing all over the world for that spot. You know what I mean? Like, because I didn't do the Vipassana in my country, so I did it in Peru. So I applied for that spot, you know, and I'm fighting with everyone else in the world that wants that spot. So it's very hard to get into a Vipassana, for girls especially.
Why is that? Why girls?
I think that men, I don't know what's going on with men, but they have more, it's not that they have more spots, it's like maybe they're not more, you know, interested in taking these kinds of courses, so it's easier for them.
Oh,
you know?
Right. So they're the minority
in terms
to
of
say
slots.
Okay.
Like, we are competing, girls are competing, we really want to, as I can see all over the world in the Vipassana, we really want to do this course, and we really want to, you know, so it's very hard. There's only few spots, and everyone wants the spots.
All right, interesting.
So that's what's happened. So since it's so hard to get in for us girls, when I see girls that are not respecting noble silence, or they're not taking it 100% serious, which was my experience sometimes, I feel like someone else could have gotten that spot that was super serious about it, or, you know?
Yeah.
But that was my experience. There's millions of Vipassanas all over the world that function very, you know, with discipline. And so for me, I would say that was the only little thing that I was, okay, maybe someone else could have got that spot if you're not into it, you know?
How would you describe...
Right.
Yeah, so for example, that you're talking about the other people who were with you in the Vipassana, how would you describe the kind of people that really wants to do this kind of course? Like, do they come from different like nationalities? Is it like a trend? Are they like engaged in different religious or spiritual affiliations, or?
Yeah. So, first, well, again, this Vipassana was in Peru, was in the Sacred Valley. So in each country, you have 20 slots for girls that have already done the Vipassana, so older students, and for new students, so 20 other for new students. So you have 40 girls and 40 boys between old students and new students. For those slots, I think 10 or 15 are only for Peruvians, for locals in each country. So you have a preference if you are Peruvian in this case. And then for what I could see, there were all different nationalities, like there was a lot of Austrian girls, Brazilian girls, German girls, French girls, like all over the world. And for what I could sense afterwards, because at the beginning, obviously, you don't talk to them, you know, you're 10 days just not even almost looking at them because you cannot interact. But then after those 10 days, you can talk to them. So I realized that they were all over the world, all girls that were mostly European, that wanted to travel to South America to find this spiritual journey. You know?
So do you think people go to the Vipassana to experience this kind of spiritual, journey or evolution or development?
Yes, for sure. Like the Vipassana is a massive deal. You know, it's like you go somewhere and you devote yourself to yourself into meditation for 10 days. So these girls were definitely trying to reinforce their meditation, or, you know, learn this new technique of meditation to see if it's good for them or not, you know, like, but it's also very meaningful when you do it in such a powerful, energetic center of the world, which is the Sacred Valley of the Incas.
Of course.
Because it's that valley, that's why the Incas as well call it Sacred Valley, you know, it's sacred. You can feel the energy of the place. You're surrounded by what Incas and Peruvians called apus, which are sacred apus, which are the big mountains with the snow capes, and, you know, so you're surrounded by mountains and you're in this beautiful valley, which is a massive energetic point as well.
Yeah,
so doing the Vipassana in this place, it's very meaningful, you know? It's more powerful.
Do you think that people, like, go through the Vipassana because they want to change something in their lives? Like, it's obviously something that is life-changing. did it change your life in a way?
I think it's for sure. Like, I think it's definitely a life-changing experience. I think people go to the Vipassana as a first-timer to understand how the powerful weapon that it's meditation, how it will change your life, how you will start, as I was saying before, how you feel that you're very tolerant now, and that you discuss things in a different way, and that you don't react as much as you would before. So meditation has always been a transcendental experience. Is that a word?
Yeah. Okay.
So you when you start meditating, it's very confrontational, because what you're seeing is yourself in a mirror, basically. You're within you, and you're realizing things about yourself. And once you start working, because this is constant work, by the way, like, it's not like you do the Vipassana and you feel powerful. You do, and it lasts, and this protection, this energy that you get, and this empowerment that you get, it lasts for a while. But obviously, if you don't keep practicing, it will fade away.
Of course.
So it also helps you to understand that this is a long process, and that this is a journey that you entered, and it's beautiful, and that you're going to start having more self-realization moments, and things will start developing in a beautiful way if you are constant in your work and you have discipline in your meditation, like.
Yeah, it's a journey, It's something that will change completely your life. So, for example, okay.
Completely.
And then, because we talked about this before, so I'm just going to jump ahead to another question. But then you said that right after the Vipassana, you went to another kind of a spiritual manifestation of Andean culture. You said you experienced the festivities of El Señor de Coyuninti. So this is very, obviously the word, it's from Inca. But can you just explain a little bit for people who do not know what is this?
Yes, of course. So to put you guys in context, like, as I was saying before, the Sacred Valley of the Incas is a massive energetic center in the world. So lots of people, foreigners, travel to the Sacred Valley and stay and sometimes live even in those little valleys along all the Sacred Valleys. So Ollantaytambo, Urubamba, Calca, Pisac, and they practice different kinds of medicines that help you in your spiritual development. So the beautiful thing for me, and the interesting thing for me at the Sacred Valley, is that there's a beautiful mix between the Andean peoples. They're called different nations. They're all different nations from the Andes Mountains. So they have their own local traditions. So they live in the mountains, and they have their own local traditions and their own gods, basically, because they love the Apus, the sacred mountains that I was talking about. And this beautiful mix between the Catholics, like the Catholic religion, that it was left with the conquerors and the colonialism. And it's insane to see how these two religions, how these two beautiful Andean experience mixes with the Catholic religion. So this festivity, Señor de Coyuriti, is basically that. Like, you see how these Andean people with their own tradition mixes with the Catholics. So Señor de Coyuriti is a Apu as well, so it's a sacred mountain. And what they do is, it's like during a week, nations from Peru, all over Peru, Andean nations, so indigenous background nations, from Peru, even from northern Chile, from Bolivia as well, they travel to Señor de Coyuruti temple. So basically, Señor de Coyuruti, the story is that there was this little boy called Mariano, I think, that was living in the mountains, and he saw another little boy, and they started playing. So when he came down after all day playing with this little boy, he told the priest of that area and said, I just met this little boy, and we played all day, and blah, blah, blah. And basically, it was a manifestation of Jesus in the form of this other little boy. So when they went and to find again this little boy, this Jesus was insert in like a rock. So the image of Jesus was in this rock that stayed, and that's where they built the temple.
Okay.
So that's basically like the Catholic background of it.
So I'm just gonna say something for those who are not familiarized with this kind of things. This happens a lot in Latin America in different cultures. It's something that it's common. It's common, the syncretism between Catholics and traditional or native festivities. Like that's something that happens common. Like just finding, I don't know, the Virgin Mary or Jesus Christ in different manifestations, and then the culture kind of builds up on that. So I just wanted to say that because it must be very, very interesting. So for example, so you said they gathered in the mountains in the Apus, and then they have
yeah. It's a pilgrimage actually. So what they do is like, I think it's 4 or 5 days that all these nations that are completely different, you know, like obviously they share the indigenous Andes background, but they all have different tradition, I don't want to say costumes because they're not traditional outfits, you know, and they travel all this way from their own towns, with the musicians and with these traditional outfits, and they walk to Señor de Coyuriti, which is, I think it's 4,600 meters above sea level. So they walk all this way and they dance all day and all night. So it's basically, I think, like 40,000, 50,000 people that are in this pilgrimage these days. So everyone goes up and down all day during these 5 days, up and down the mountain, up and down, because a lot of people just go for the day or even for the night, or, you know?
Yeah.
So when I went, I climbed all the way to the mountain, to the temple, and it's chaos. It's like all these people just going up, and they basically go up to worship Señor de Coyuruti, to see Jesus in the stone, and to ask for things, you know? So all the way up, you can see little places where they sell figures of a little house or family, or, you know, even degrees. There was this guy that had a printer and he printed degrees. Like, if you want to be a lawyer, he will put like, oh yes, Anna, it's going to be a lawyer, you know, in this university, or, you know. So your parents go up and pray all day or all night, you know. And so that's all the way up. Like, it's chaotic. You go up and you see massive amounts of people. And then once you're up, you can see how everyone's dancing. You can feel the energy, the devotion. You can vibrate with the faith of these people, you know? Like, they prepare all year. All of these indigenous nations, they prepare and they dance all day and all night during 5 days just to, you know...
getting in touch with this
worship,
deity.
like to worship Jesus, you know. So it's amazing. The colors, the people, you can vibrate and you can feel the devotion, you can feel the faith.
Oh, you know? With that, just forget about the doofs and raves, right? You just have to.
And it's actually an event that obviously it's drug-free, and
of course.
They cannot drink alcohol, and it's so strict, as in. Because there's another nation called Pabluchos that they are like in charge of the thing, like to have an order, and, you know, because you have to control 50,000 people, you know. And then so these guys have the control, and I think that someone told me that if you're caught having a drink or whatever, they will put you in jail, you know, what they call jail, which is like a house with a lock, and they will put you inside during the whole festivity, so you cannot go out. Like, you're basically in jail for 5 days.
Misbehaved.
Yeah, I know.
Misbehaved worshipper.
So, and that's also a beautiful thing, you know, because as I was saying before, you actually vibrate. You can feel the energy of these people, this devotion, dancing all day and all night. And you don't need the drugs, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, you're
of course.
dancing, jumping at 4,600 meters above sea level.
Yeah.
in the middle of the mountains, and you can feel it. You can feel this intoxicating, beautiful love and energy that people are, sending to the sacred valley,
Were there many like foreigners in this kind of festivities, or not really?
I didn't saw a lot, to tell you the truth, but I heard when I came back to Chile, I heard that there was actually groups of people that go and pray to Señor de Coyuruti as well. So the pilgrimage starts from everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
So I know that there's groups that there were a couple of foreigners that I saw, not much, but there were a bit.
How did you felt being like a kind of like tradition, like, I mean, because you're Latin American, yes, but you're not Andean or a native to that area. Do you feel a little bit different of being kind of foreigner in a way, like kind of, the other sort of?
No, I don't think so, because you do actually really get immersed in this spiritual journey, like you actually, I'm not Catholic, but I believe in spirituality, I try to develop myself in spirituality in every way possible that I can. So for me, this experience, I asked for things to Señor de Coyuruti, I got immersed over there, and then you feel, I had a beautiful experience because at night, obviously at this high altitude, it gets really, really cold. So I got a beautiful experience where because you see tents everywhere and fires everywhere, and music, doom, all day, all night. And at night, I had a beautiful experience where I just arrived and sat near a fire.
Yeah.
And everyone was so welcoming, from the moment I just sat down, girls started arriving and offering me tea to stay warm, please stay here, please share with us. And I actually had this beautiful experience where they were telling me Andean stories of that place as well, spiritual journeys of the people that I was with, but also their ancestors, their grandmothers, their great-grandmothers, how they felt about this place and how they felt about the spirits of the place.
So they didn't you didn't feel like you were like kind of an outsider. They were very like involving you in their traditions as well.
Yeah, and sharing so much information as well. It was not only that they made me feel very welcome, but they were also sharing very beautiful stories, as well.
But but do you think there were some things that they were kind of like not hidden to you, but like because it's something so traditional and so sacred in a way? Do you think there's also a part of the Señor de Coyuruti festivities that weren't shown to you because you weren't part of it, or do you think it was pretty much in the open and pretty much on like this is how it is? And I don't know.
No, it's very opening and it's very welcoming, because you do not only get the amazing and beautiful experience that I'm very grateful for seeing these beautiful dances and these beautiful traditions and everything that it's behind that. For instance, there was obviously different nations with different outfits and with different traditions. There was little boys that had like a corpse of a llama.
Mm-hmm.
And they dance with their own llamas. You know what I mean? Like it's really weird. So, and for instance, the fabrics that they use have a story. Like that's very Latin American as well. Like women weave stories through their fabrics. So all of that is very welcoming. All of that is very like you feel part of it because you're understanding the Andean cosmovision. While you see their outfits, while you see their dancing, while you feel their music, while you vibrate with all of this. But as well, I can only speak from my experience, but I had the beautiful experience of them telling me their own stories, Like the stories began like, my grandmother was here once and she came with her mother and, like this comes from years and years back, and when you feel and when you hear stories about their great grandmothers coming to this place and seeing spirits and it's like I was very welcomed, and I was very happy that I had that experience. But it's for everyone. Everyone can come, foreigner or local. Everyone's invited to feel the devotion and to share the love for. It's very strict, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if I had the chance and the opportunity, and I was very lucky because you're basically competing with 50,000 people to get in the temple. So I got in, and I could see locals going like, you need to take your hat off, and you need to kneel, and you need to do this, and you need to do that, like, not to me, but I could see other people feeling that that's very strict.
And were they, like the foreigners, for example, were they also kind of respecting those laws and those, traditions? Or did you saw anybody just not being very respected?
No, I could... Everyone, like, I actually was standing next to a couple that were foreigners. I don't know where from, but they were obviously tourists, and they were very respectful. I don't think they were understanding much of what was happening because it's very overwhelming. But between them, between the locals, were like, I could see this lady going to some guy and telling him, like, you need to take your hat off. Like, we're inside the temple. Yeah. Like, if you cannot take your hat off, then just go, Like, everyone's very respectful and it's very strict.
Yeah, well, that's the way for the communities to kind of encourage their own traditions and just taking care of the cultural heritage, I guess, no? Because I've gone into different places where there's a lot of things going, behind the scenes that normally tourists are not aware of and they can be part of. That's why I was asking. But yeah. It must be very interesting to experience that. So yeah, would you encourage like people who are traveling through Latin America to go to this kind of festivities, especially the Señor de Coyuriti, like something that sacred and that important? Would you recommend it?
I would definitely recommend it, but with the warning of please understand that this is not a tourist event. Like, exactly. This is not a thing for you to come and just take pictures or no, like, this is a place where people, it's very spiritual and you actually can feel the energy of the people. So you have to be first very respectful of the place, of the sacred apples, of the locals that are participating in this event, and understand that they're coming here to pray. Like, I remember that there was the day that we were leaving, the people were coming down the mountain, and I could feel the sorrow and the sadness of one of these nations singing, because they're all happy all the time during this 5 day, going, we love you, Señor de Coyuriti, and it's very intense, the dancing and the chanting. But when they leave, it's very sad. They're very sad, and through their songs, you can feel this sorrow, and they're saying, please, wait for us, we'll come back next year, chanting those things. So I think tourists need to understand that, if you go, involve yourself, immerse yourself with the locals, because they're very welcoming, and they will offer you their food, they will offer you their tea, they will offer you a spot in their fire, they even asked me for a dance once, like it's so if you go as a tourist to feel this energy and to be respectful of it and the place that you're in, I encourage everyone to see this, to vibrate with them. But if you just want to take pictures, or if you just want, you have to understand that this is very serious as a tourist. I mean, this is a very massive big deal.
Do you think, because I've been like reading here and there different news and stuff, and I feel like tourism has become, it's going towards this, like partaking in traditional and rituals and festivities and traditional things, and they're just like disrespecting traditional festivities, especially with the use of ritual drugs, for example. But yeah, like you said, if you say it's not a tourist event, it's not something that is gonna welcome tourists, it's gonna welcome human beings and respecting different cultures. Yeah, I can completely understand that. Yeah, so
it's the Sacred Valley has this duality, like for me, that's what I saw. I saw what you were saying. I saw this duality and I felt the duality as well. So I felt disappointed at some point. Not with the Señor de Coyuruti, not with my experience personally in the valley, but when you realize that there's a massive amount of foreigners, Europeans, Americans, that come to the Sacred Valley and they just settle and they start owning, because it's ownership, like they start owning these spiritual medicine traditions that you were talking about. It's when I get confused and I get, okay, this is distortion of the reality of the medicine. This is distortion of the reality of the spirituality of the place as well. Like, for instance, ayahuasca, which is a medicine plant, it actually doesn't even grow in the valley. It grows in the Amazon, like in the middle of Peru, in Tarapoto, in Pucallpa, up to Iquitos, and that's where the shamans used to use as medicine. Only the shamans, just to understand the spiritual journey, the vision,
Mm-hmm.
And then when you arrive to the Sacred Valley and you see that there's a foreigner playing the role as a shaman and using ayahuasca at the same time with San Pedro, or another recreational, or DMT, or stuff like that in the same ceremony, you're like, okay, dude, this is not a spiritual healing.
Exactly.
Like this is not the use of the plant to be used in these ways. So that duality was really confronting for me to see as well.
So you saw that in the Sacred Valley, that kind of things going on.
Yes, like there's different valleys. Like I stayed a lot in Calca, which was the first valley that I arrived to, because it was the valley of the Vipassana as well.
Yeah.
And I could feel the energy of the place. I could feel that was a safe place for me. But once I arrived to Pisac, obviously this is a personal experience, someone could tell you. But when I arrived to Pisac and I understood that all the foreigners were living there and were using medicines in the way that could harm yourself, basically, because I believe in the power of San Pedro or the Huachuma or the power medicine of the ayahuasca, or I can understand that, and it's healing, and it's but when you use it at the same time with 3 different other drugs, I could not understand that a foreigner is dressed up as an Andean shaman and start giving this medicine without the proper knowledge, without the proper restrictions, or to give to someone else this supposed to be medicine. It's there's a lot of that as well. So you can see all the time, you walk through Pisac and you can see flyers of foreigners that want to give you ayahuasca, or they charge you $700 for San Pedro ceremony, or like all of those things. I think that the medicine is got distorted a bit, the spiritual medicine of the Huachuma, of the ayahuasca, of everything.
It's very
Cambo as well.
It's very interesting you say this, because obviously I think we're gonna have to cut the topic right now, but just a little bit like overview of what you're saying, because you went to like the Vipassana first, which was kind of a spiritual journey towards understanding yourself and healing, like certain controlling your thoughts and your emotions, and so in that way it was very spiritual in a way. And then the Señor de Cuyuriti was the other side, like the social collective side of healing, because obviously it's a way a culture kind of preserves itself. And then now that we're going through like all this healing and using traditional medicine as, especially for people who are not traditional or native to that area, and they're just like exploring it and just taking advantage of healing themselves. I don't know, it sounds like, like, the Vipassana as well, like, I know the name comes from India. It's also kind of like a way to heal yourself, and even though it encourages the use of medicines like that are gonna disrupt your balance and your your visions and stuff, it's still kind of using a cultural aspect or trait of a culture, and yeah, using it to healing. So yeah, I find it very interesting what you're saying, and especially
like cultural appropriation, no?
We have it.
It's like
I wanted to get to that point because that's a very interesting topic that we'll have to talk about in another podcast. Definitely. But yeah, we're gonna have to cut it short, unfortunately. But we will be back with Carla, and we're gonna discuss a bit more of these topics because we're definitely getting to somewhere here, and yeah, we do. So I want to thank you so much for sharing with us your experience with the Vipassana, and then obviously the Señor de Coyuriti, which not a lot of people know about. Not a lot of people know about the Vipassana as well, but it's more internationally known. And we will be back with you, hopefully, to discuss these other topics that are popping up. But thank you so much, Carla, for just sharing your experience. You know, we're all about sharing because we believe that sharing is caring. And we do want to encourage people to just, you know, share. We need to share. So thank you so much for giving us all this amazing insight and your experience in the world.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy that we could be talking about this for ages.
I know. But
hopefully that this is a good start.
Of course. And I will definitely come back with Carla. And yeah, thank you so much. We will continue talking about spiritual tourism and its implications in the use of drug rituals on our next podcast. Don't miss out. And remember, Impetu Hub is a collaborative platform to share, connect, and reflect on tourism experiences. So if you would like to collaborate, just send us a message through our mainstream channels. We would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for hearing us out. See you next time.